No workshop Planejamento 2016, o líder para o setor automotivo da Deloitte mostrou algumas das lições que a indústria automotiva brasileira pode tirar das crises que ocorreram recentemente nos Estados Unidos e na Europa. Joey, what exactly lessons we can take from the US and European downturns for the automotive industry here in Brazil?
Okay, I think the biggest lesson that we learned, and there was many different, when you're going through a crisis where you lose 40% of sales over a 2-year period of time, it really is devastating for the industry. It's devastating for the economies that the companies operate in. And the first biggest lesson was none of these solutions can be dealt with by any one individual company. There really needs to be a strong commitment and alignment between all the stakeholders. And those stakeholders are the automotive OEMs, the automotive suppliers, the automotive dealers, the labor union, and the government. And the U.S. went through a very rapid return to profitability because we address many of the structural issues that existed for decades. And the companies changed the business model. They stopped producing vehicles that consumers didn't want. They started to align the capacity with what the true demand was. And they started focusing on those products, those services that customers want and were willing to pay for.
Brazilian industry now, automotive industry, is just like a fully loaded truck that needs to brake. How to brake this truck?
Well, there's so much potential in the Brazilian market. It's a market that has significant number of people with a very strong manufacturing capability to produce vehicles that consumers want and desire. But yes, there's issues on the horizon. The one major issue is going to be there's so many factors that impact companies' ability to be profitable. Exchange rates, regulatory environment, the uncertainty around the way in which Brazil operates in the world and global economy. And when we ask CEOs from around the world, what is the most important thing for manufacturing competitiveness? We find that the regulatory environment, the infrastructure, the willingness of governments to really work together with the various industries, create policies that support and enhance those factors that impact global competitiveness. And there's too much uncertainty right now. And there's, I believe, a lack of confidence that global companies have in terms of how the government will address these issues and how predictable they can rely on in terms of government policies and regulations.
Is there any way to calculate, to preview how much longer this crisis will be here?
$1 million question. Well, I think that the U.S. was very unique in the way it recovered so quickly. Compared to Europe, which has taken a much slower and longer term. Two differences were U.S. addressed structural issues, Europe it's been more difficult to address structural issues. But underlying it all, it's all about the economy. The U.S. economy came back very, very strong. European economy has been coming back slowly. The confidence of consumers. And I think we heard that from the audience today in terms of the number one factor affecting it is consumer confidence, and I totally agree with that. The underlying in that is going to be probably be three things. One is the exchange rates and how quickly those can become stable. I think secondly, the regulatory environment, and third, the Brazilian market is strongly driven by commodities. I think we are going to have a longer term and depressed level of prices around commodities, which potentially could extend the downturn longer than we'd like.
Thank you very much.